Agribusiness. Brought to you by Bank of New Zealand. Committed to agri for more than 160 years. With over 100 agribusiness partners across the country, BNZ is local and ready to support your business through the seasons.
But waiting on the line, and I've been really enjoying the LinkedIn posts coming from this next guest, is Dr Nic Lees, Senior Lecturer, Department of Agribusiness from Lincoln University. We're going to be talking about the Fonterra strategy, what the capital return means for New Zealand and for the sector and Fonterra, as well as the execution of this strategy by the new CE, Richard Allen. Thank you for joining us, Nick. Hey, look, you're not very far from us, so next time, please come into the studio in Christchurch. We'd love to have you in here.
You're at Tapu, are you?
No, we're actually just moved to the Christchurch airport in Sir William Pickering.
Oh, right. Okay. No, I'd be happy to do that.
Amazing. Hey, so, Nick, lots of different topics you could talk about in your role in agribusiness at Lincoln. But let's look at this super payout. It's being talked up as a big income boost, alongside obviously good milk price and a dividend returned. What is the reality of the payment as a one-off event and that reset of that Fonterra strategy?
So I think the first thing to really realise is that this isn't really treated as income. It's a capital return to dairy farmers. And so that makes it quite different in the way that farmers potentially will use it. And I think because of that, really what's happening with this strategy is that Fonterra is saying that we believe that farmers can generate a higher return on that capital than we can in our consumer business. So, I think it's really important with Fonterra to realise that it's not a normal company or business, that it is a farmer-owned cooperative. And as that means that their goal is actually maximising farmers' returns and benefiting farmers. So I think that's really what that comes down to. So I think what you'll see is that farmers will invest some of that money in reducing debt, because that immediately gives them a significant return on that capital. Then there's likely to be more investment in on-farm infrastructure and capital expenditure.
Nick, I was talking to a farmer yesterday, a Fonterra farmer, and he said to me, don't get too excited. When we bought our shares, they were $6.50.
Yeah.
We're just paying that back. That's basically the way he put it to me. Everyone's getting excited about this $400,000 average per farm. He said, it ain't going anywhere. And not everyone's in that boat, but he said, if you're a farmer of my generation, that's where it's going.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I think that is part of the strategy to effectively lower the share price. So by returning equity to farmers. And, I think that's true, that, the money that's been invested in Fonterra is farmer money. So this isn't, some kind of payout. It's really just a shift in that capital from the cooperative back to the farmers and the on-farm. And so one of the things that's going to do is it is going to reduce the investment that farmers have in Fonterra. And in many ways, that's a good thing, because a lot of farmers have had a lot of capital tied up in Fonterra. And, particularly when it hasn't performed well, that's had a big impact on farmers.
Nick, one thing that's interesting, just picking up off Andy's generation of farmers talking about paying that back, my generation of farmers with regards to getting into Fonterra, and obviously there's a My Milk scenario for buying in, it had got to a point where the next generation couldn't necessarily get into the same level, because and a lot of retiring dairy farmers on the horizon really soon. This was a real problem for Fonterra.
Yeah, no, I think that's right, and I think that's another part of the strategy is to lower the entry barriers to getting into Fonterra, because as you said, at a very high share price, there was a lot of money going into Fonterra, and that was a real barrier. It's also a real risk. when we talk about cooperatives, we talk about the portfolio problem, which means that if you're just a normal rational investor, you're going to diversify your portfolio. So the risk with Fonterra was that farmers basically were tied in terms of putting their capital into Fonterra. So that's a real risk because that capital is really just determined by how well that company performs.
Nick, just the whole strategy of Fonterra selling the brands Mainland, Anchor, and I think Capity ice cream is well known now, and that's been worked through, and the money's been returned. But my question is, does appointing Richard Allen as the new CEO play into that strategy, or what do you make of his appointment now?
I think it's very clear his appointment is the board is signalling that they're moving from their strategy of simplifying the business, of diversifying businesses that weren't core to their focus on ingredients and food service. And so I think the real signal with Richard Allen's appointment is that the board is moving from strategy to execution. So that's going to be, what he will be really judged on. Can he really make the new simplified model focusing on higher value ingredients and food service? Can he make that really perform?
Nick, one thing I'd like to really see as we're moving from a branded consumer product on the outside to an branded ingredient strategy is I'd like to see from Fonterra what that looks like. I look at the wool industry. I look at what Wool Source have done with collagen in Lincoln and how they've got that as a branded ingredient, similar to ZQ with Zenterra. What could they be putting in place, or what do they have already in place that we can own uniquely and it can be carried through as a brand mark?
Yeah, so I think, really moving from a consumer business to a B2B business doesn't mean that you're doing away with brands or that you're doing away with value-added products. And, so I think Fonterra's strategy, and Fonterra has a huge research and development organisation and investment. And so what you're going to see is that there's going to be a shift to putting that money into developing higher value ingredients. So that might be sports nutrition, medical ingredients, proteins, sports nutrition. And, one of the things that you can see that there is the ability to patent those and to brand those. And so I think, that's going to be the focus. A lot of people think value add is just about consumer brands. But the problem with value add is that it can also involve value cost as well. So it's really about where you can allocate your investment. And I think, their strategy around, UTH milk, UTH cream for food service. You've got another good example with their mozzarella cheese, which they can, produce. They have the technology to produce that in a very short period of time. So, what you'll see investment. A part of it will go into really looking at how do they reduce the costs, manufacturing efficiency, but also how they can increase the margin and create, a very close relationship with their B2B customers. And you're going to see innovation around ingredients and food service.
Nick, just quickly before we go, how do we know this? What will be the obvious signs that this is working? I'm not just purely talking about payout, right? Because that's pretty obvious. What are the signs? What should we look for?
I think what you're going to see, the real question is, can Fonterra generate a strong return on capital from this strategy? And I think that's what it will be ultimately judged on. And, because one of the focuses of this is really around capital allocation. And I guess a big factor in terms of is this successful or not is can Fonterra actually generate significant value from their ingredients and food service business and their focus. And I think that's where, operational excellence is going to come in. Fonterra is a huge organisation. It's easy to say this is about execution, but execution in an organisation as large as Fonterra is not easy. There's a lot of moving parts that need to come together to make that perform.
Dr Nic Lees, who is an agribusiness Professor of Agribusiness, my apologies, at Lincoln University. Thank you so very much for your time. I look forward to having you regular on the show. You've got a lot to contribute.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. Nice to have a chat with you. Look forward to doing that again in the future.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Nick.
Okay, no worries.
Out on the farm, the right support goes a long way. Speak to your local BNZ agribusiness partner for insight and expertise you need to farm through the seasons.